Hi, my name is Kehinde Adewunmi, and I'm so excited to be in the AfroCurators guest chair.
You are now listening to AfroCurators, the podcast, where we highlight creatives, influencers, and culture shifters of African descent. They all have three things in common. They are embracing their culture, they pursue their purpose, and they curate their own legacy. I'm your host, Sky Dahan. Now let's dig into the story. Kenny was born in Lagos, Nigeria, and grew up in NYC in Maryland. She moved across the country almost 5 years ago to work at LinkedIn, and over the course of the 4.5 years, she partnered with small and medium-sized companies on their global sales team and global accounts team within Talent Solutions. Kenny is currently the strategic partner manager on the commerce partnerships team at Facebook, where she partners with businesses to help them achieve their goals using Facebook and Instagram platforms. Quick plug, if you have a product and you're not selling it on IG shops, what are you waiting for? You should get into it. Along with her twin sister, she curates content on lifestyle, travel, and tech. They have a YouTube channel called Chronicles of TK, where they partner with employees at various tech companies to discuss how underrepresented groups can break in and thrive in the industry. Y'all, I'm so excited for y'all to get into these career nuggets and gems that Kenny shared in this episode. Let's go. Wow, I'm so excited. Kenny is on the AfroCurators podcast today. You are essentially one of my lifelong friends. So I appreciate you taking the time to come in and drop some gems around your career and how you can allow other people to thrive and flourish.
Thanks for having me.
Girl, you're so welcome. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So I'd love for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Kehinde, as I mentioned earlier. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, moved to New York City at the age of 6 with my twin sister. I grew up in New York for a few years, Maryland, and like a year in DC, studied finance at Temple University and realized finance wasn't the path for me. I wasn't passionate about it, also wasn't great at it. So I had got an opportunity to actually work at LinkedIn. Once I applied online, they got back to me. So I spent about 4.5 years there. And now I currently work at Facebook on our commerce partnerships team, which I'm enjoying. And for my 5 to 9, along with my twin sister, I curate content on lifestyle, travel, and tech on our YouTube channel called Chronicles of TK. So that's really about me, and everything I'm doing is through the grace of God. Thank you.
Yes. You gotta drop the resume and let people know what you got going on. I love it. And everything through the grace of God. So I love how you ended it on that note. So you just gave us a lot. So I want to break it down a little bit so people can kind of get a good understanding and feel for your journey. And so, obviously this podcast is to highlight African creatives and those really walking in their purpose. And, you said you were born in Nigeria and moved to New York when you were 6. Do you remember, what that transition was like for you coming to the US, and just how was that, especially coming with a twin sister, which is great, right? You got that other person who's a clutch person that you can always connect with and vibe with. But how was that experience for you?
Yeah, actually, I remember exactly what we were wearing. I don't know if it's because there's a picture in it. We were wearing these matching black and white camo outfits with hats. I remember us going one day and not being able to travel for some reason. I don't know what was going on. And the next day we were able to go. And everyone was so happy in our family. Of course, our parents wanted a better opportunity for us by moving us to the States. So that's what that was. And then we moved to New York. So my aunt and our cousins were there. So we stayed with them. That's who we lived with. And I just remember everything being new, like the language. I understood English, but my first language was Yoruba. So I was speaking Yoruba and English. I remember someone asking me at school, we went to PS44, and someone would ask, do you want to go with me? And I was like, go where? I really just didn't understand. So it was this new world of new language, new people, new culture, and me trying to understand my purpose and identity in the midst of it all.
And I mean, you remember the outfit because y'all are so stylish. So I feel like that just is so on brand for you to remember exactly what you were wearing. So I love it.
Oh, gosh. Thank you.
So, okay. So then, you transitioned. Obviously, you grew up a little bit. You went to Temple and you majored, correct me if I'm wrong, in finance, or you went into a career of finance. What led you to that? And you said you pivoted from that pretty quickly. Tell us why.
Yeah, I studied finance because one, I knew I wanted to do business. I knew I had a business mindset, but wasn't sure what to major in. And I was enjoying my finance classes, and I realized that a lot of women weren't in that field or in my classes. And also growing up, I wasn't privy to that information of like finance, investments. I feel like that's an area where we fell short. So I was like, okay, this is something I can learn. And I want my kids to learn. I want my grandkids to learn. So I'm going to, be the first person to start that off. As much as I liked my classes, there was this one class I hated so much. Oh my gosh. It was so hard for me. But I finally passed it. And when I started working in investments, we had to take all these tests. And I'm like, 1, I'm not passionate about it. 2, I'm not passing the test. 3, my manager is not a supportive God. This can't be it. And I had this moment of realization that everything I thought I wanted and everything I've dreamt about, everything I wrote about and told people I was going to do might not actually be what I do. So it was kind of like an identity crisis at such a young age of trying to figure out, okay, God, what's next? That's actually where I rededicated my life to Christ. I started praying more, fasting and crying because literally I wasn't working for a couple of weeks and even months actually. So
and this was after you graduated or you were still... Okay.
This is right after I graduated because in school I had a ton of internships at, different companies. So I thought that was it. But after I graduated, and no one really tells you, after you get good grades, they say, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and make good money. So I got good grades. I graduated in 4 years. I had a good job that didn't work out. But no one tells you, what else? How do you pivot? What is next? So I honestly I didn't really have a roadmap either. So I prayed, I cried, I talked to my coach from a program called MLT that I was in undergrad. And she told me, hey, I think your personality will fit a company called LinkedIn. I knew about LinkedIn because I had a profile, but I was like, I don't have a technical background. What in the world am I going to do at LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Long story short, I actually applied online. They got back to me. Had 3 rounds of interview with 6 different people. I flew out to Chicago, did my on-site interview there, had a case interview, had group pitch, all that good stuff. Finally got an offer. And through 4.5 years there, I worked on different partnerships. So I did sales, I did a global accounts team, which is all sales within talent space. So essentially I helped small, medium-sized, and global account-sized businesses understand our products, understand our tools, and make sure they were using ones that were efficient for their business to reach success.
Listen, y'all, I need y'all to understand that Kenny is like the queen of LinkedIn. Even though she's no longer there, this girl was in commercials, billboards, she was literally running the company. So, I think 4.5 years is an extremely long time to work for a company, right? I feel like especially us in the younger generation, it's every 2 years we're kind of searching and looking, but you stayed there and you took on so many different roles, as you said, from sales to partnerships. So for those who are listening, I think it's really important to kind of paint the picture, right? You graduated, you weren't sure what you were going to do. You didn't really get that opportunity, even though you were thriving as an undergrad. And so you had to think about what was next. And shout outs to MLT. That's a great program that gave you the support and the resources and people poured into you. Mm-hmm. So when you applied to LinkedIn, just so I'm aware and the folks listening can understand, was it a referral? Did you just cold apply? What did that look like? Because obviously you had to go through a whole bunch of interviews, but what did that look like for your first job?
Yeah, good question. I actually, before I answer that, I want to touch on something you said about our generation kind of moving every year, because that was me too. I saw people leaving, so I thought, oh, it's time to leave. People are bouncing. I'm about to be out too. People think in order for you to thrive, you always have to leave. Sometimes you can thrive exactly where you're at. And I learned that by staying through the good, the bad, the ups and the downs. And then for the process, so thousands of people actually applied. And I learned this after getting into the program, but I actually applied code. I went on LinkedIn.com and I clicked on easy apply, which is where you don't even fill out a whole application. You just put your name, your
Can
email.
we talk about that for a second? I really think that is the best way. Why do I have to give you my whole government information, social security number? Can I just give you my resume, my name, and my email, and let me know if this works out or not?
I appreciate what you just said, because I was being lazy. I was applying different places. I was like, okay, maybe they'll want me. So I did easy apply, and I didn't even know if it worked because that was actually my first time using easy apply. So I was like, I probably did that wrong, but God, if this is something you want from me, I'll get it. And girl, 2 days later, I got an email. They scheduled a call with me with a recruiter, or I would say a sourcer, somebody who actually searches for candidates online. Mm-hmm. And I talked to that person and said, you can talk to someone else in 2 hours. I was like, okay. I had nothing else going on anyway. So yes, thank you.
Okay.
And then after that, they was like, okay, you did great. We're going to, move you to on-site. So on-site would be, meeting with a ton of people. I think I met 4 to 6 people that work at LinkedIn in different roles in Chicago. First of all, I don't think I've ever been flown anywhere. So when they sent me to Chicago, I was so happy. I had family there. I stayed in a nice hotel. I was loving it. They even had different activities for us to go see Skydeck. I was like, oh my gosh. I even said this. I said, even if I don't get this job, this has been the best interview experience. I was even scared to share it on social media. You know, that thought of, what if I don't get it? So I was like, I'm not going to share it yet. And then I just shared it because I'm just having such a good time.
You're like, nah, y'all going to see this hotel. Y'all are going to see the Chicago Beach.
I was like, this is so fun. And then that interview process was situation, task, action, results. I use a STAR format for answering my behavioral questions. We also had a case interview. So I read a bunch of like case books to teach me like the consultant mindset. And that one was really hard. I don't think I even got the question right, but it's more about how like you thought about it and sharing that openly through the process. And then we had a group pitch because the sales rotational program, other people I was interviewing with would be on my team and we would have to like solve a pitch together. And then the last step was the hiring manager. I met with her through like video call. After that, 2 days later, I got the offer.
Wow. So in total, how long was the process?
I would say the interview process was maybe 3 weeks, but I met with so many people. I want to say maybe 6 to 8 people in total, including like the recruiting team.
And back then, obviously, previous to a global pandemic, that was kind of the MO for companies was to, you know, do a quick interview with HR and then determine, you know, if we fly them out, how do they interact with our teams? How do they interact in person? How do they problem solve if we, you know, put them on the spot? How do you feel like that's changed now? We'll kind of talk about how you transitioned to your current role. Can you kind of tell me what you've noticed in the differences of when you applied after undergrad to what you think it is now or what you've experienced?
Yeah, I just interviewed about 2 months ago, maybe 2.5 months ago. And it's the same process as far as like sourcer reaching out, talking to the recruiter, talking to hiring manager on site, and then final person that they want to add to the pipeline. But obviously, you know, it's all through the computer screen. So one, I would say you have to find a way to let your personality shine through the screen and not get like that fatigue or boredom because you look at the screen all day. Two, doing research, like knowing who these people are before they introduce themselves. So doing research on your own time. Mm-hmm. And I would say as far as preparation, like for me, I made sure I looked at my resume, and I'll talk about that later, but looked at my resume, knew exactly what I wanted to share, and made sure that they understood me and I was concise. Because like I mentioned earlier, I tend to go long. And in these interviews, they're short 30-minute conversations. So you need to be concise and still get to the point and still shine.
I love that. Obviously, you got the job, queen of LinkedIn. Even though you're not there, you still are in my eyes. Yeah, she said that she was leaving this company and she had about like 20,000 likes on LinkedIn. So I was But tell us then about your experience, right? You said you pivoted a few times. You know, you had the slogan or phrase that you said, strive where you're planted. And, you know, talk to us about maybe those who are currently right now in a job where they're like, yo, I'm ready to go, but there could still be potential opportunities left. Talk to us about how you navigated that personal brand at LinkedIn.
Yeah, good. One, you have to understand why you're in a role. Like, what do you want to get out of it, and write it down. Sometimes we accept jobs and then we just think, oh, you know, we'll figure it out. No, write down what you want to get out of that job because you don't want to stay in that role forever. You want to elevate. You want to find what's next, or you want to move out of that company. So I wrote down what I wanted to get out of that company, not just a role, but the company before I left. I didn't have sales skills. I didn't have any experience in tech. I haven't done anything in leadership. So those are all things I wrote down. I also wanted to be so good at my job. They always said like, oh, this person is a badass. And I'm like, what the heck does that mean? So I was like, you know, I'm going to reach out to all the people that they've called a badass that's good at their job and shadow them and figure out what they're good at their job so I can be good at it. So I spend a lot of my time trying to gain specific skill sets, trying to be good, have a specific area that I'm actually good at, right? They say subject matter experts. I wouldn't call myself an expert in sales, but I'm pretty damn good at it. So find something that you can be good at. And it took time. On my first call, I hung up on the client because I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, they picked up the phone. Let me hang up. And then, you know, I sat by my managers, had to call back because I was looking like a fool. Like, oh, just kidding. So, you know, there were ups and downs. There were times I didn't hit quota. So I would say like it took a process to learn. And you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to endure those moments, the good and the bad, like I said earlier. And when times where I wanted to give up or leave, I think it's okay to have conversations with other companies and see where you are in the market, right? Do people want you? Do you have the skills they're looking for? Are they going to pay you, you know, what you deserve? Or more. So you got to kind of check out the market. I say flirting with other companies, which I did. Like I had open conversations with companies and they even made me appreciate what I had. I was like, oh, I got a good thing over here. So I'm going to stay put. I would also say finding mentors and sponsors at the companies you're working at. And that could be formally through programs. So LinkedIn have a lot of different programs that connected me with great people, but also organically. My old manager who hired me as my first closing role and the manager who hired me into my first like sales job at LinkedIn, well, I'm still like basically friends with them. I text them. We have monthly calls, build long-term relationships. We say relationships matter as part of our values there, and they truly do. So I still talk to them, and they're like encouraging me as I'm transitioning into these new roles and, making sure I'm doing what I need to do. Lastly, I would say you just have to be real with yourself. And that's just something I had to do. Like a lot of times my mentor used to say, Kenny, when are you actually going to leave? Because you done told me you was going to leave so many times. You're probably wondering, wait, why should I tell her manager that? Well, yeah, my senior manager and I were very like transparent. And he even like told me like, hey, if you want to work at Google or Salesforce, any other company, here are some people I know. Because these relationships are not about keeping you at one company. It's about making sure you're successful throughout your career, whether you're at LinkedIn or not, which is something I appreciated a lot about the company.
That's so good. That's so good. Because sometimes when you work with people, you want to make sure that the people that are around you on a day-to-day basis actually care about you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just the person crunching numbers on the sales team to meet your quota every day. Like they actually care about your growth and they want to see you thrive and stretch your skill set.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I love that you said that. And I love that you said the importance of mentors and sponsors. And to me, there's a distinction between the two. So I'd love to talk to you or learn a little bit more about what the difference is for you and your mentors and your sponsors, and how can people get those mentors in their lives if they don't have a good relationship with their current managers?
That's good. Because I'm telling you, you're not always going to get what you need from your manager, but you can find someone else you can get that from at the company or even at another organization. I would say your mentor is more someone you can tell the good, the bad, the ugly. They're going to give you advice on those things. They could be even in the same role at the same level or even higher. And they will mentor you through your career or that relationship, however long it is. You can ask them to be a mentor because, you look up to them, or you could be matched. A sponsor is someone who's going to speak of you in rooms that you're not invited to, right? So my sponsor at LinkedIn was at the very director and up level, where she's meeting at probably C-level, and she could bring up my name. I never had opportunity to be in those meetings, so she's speaking for me. I'm not telling her the ugly, I'm telling her the good, and she's giving me advice on how to get better. I also share the bad because I'm just transparent, but that's good. It was good for me because she was always telling me ways to get better and advising me on things. And that was a more formal relationship, right? So I'm preparing, I'm sending an agenda. I know what I want to get out of it. It's a set time every month or bi-weekly. So that's, I would say, the difference. And with her, I was matched through a program, a leadership program at LinkedIn.
And I mean, above all of that, it's all about your follow up and your follow through, right? Yeah. Because if I have a mentor and they're continuously pouring opportunities into me on my lap and I don't follow through, or I don't follow up saying thank you, or hey, just an update, here's what's been going on in my life, you're not going to be able to build and continue that relationship. And for your sponsors typically are, like you said, people who speak your names in rooms that you're not in yet, and they have a seat at the table that you might not, like you said. And for sponsors, they give you one opportunity, one shot to excel on something or give them really tangible, valuable advice on growing the business, right? And if you mess that opportunity up, that sponsor's gone. I love how you said there's a need for both, because I think that they both offer a different set of value in your career as you grow.
I would even add on to what you just said, it's a mutually beneficial relationship, right? So you're getting a lot, they're pouring into you, but find ways where you can pour to them. It doesn't mean, just because they have 20 years of experience and you have 5, that you can't give advice, or you can share something you learned, or you can connect them to, something. Like, find a way to also pour into them so that you can both enjoy the relationship.
I love it. It's all about the value add there. So, okay. So you said your managers were out here essentially saying, yo, when are you gonna grow to these Googles or these other companies? What's next for you?
No,
so you have people who literally saw your excellence and was like, all right, I think you've outgrown your role here. I think you've outgrown what you're giving to this current company in this current space. When did you make the decision? When did you know it was time to go?
Yeah. For clarification, I honestly just think he was tired of me talking about it. He's like, girl, are you going to talk about it or be about it, right? Because you want to leave so bad. But no, I think he just wanted to see if I was ever going to actually take that move, which honestly, I didn't think I would, because I was in such a good spot at the company and loved everything, that was afforded to me, mostly the relationships that I've built. And there's that fear of I have to start all over again. I have to meet people. I have to make a name for myself. I have to do this. But one thing I've learned and realized is that God will go before me. I don't have to do any of those things. God will go before me and make it clear. So during the pandemic, as I mentioned, I was working in talent solutions, more in a talent space. And I started to think about like, okay, what else can I do? Because I've always thought about what's next, right? After I do this, like what's next? And I thought to myself, like, what else do I want to do? What else do I want to accomplish? And I started to see a lot of people losing their jobs and, just pandemic hitting in many, many different aspects. So I decided to start holding informational interviews, which is what I reached out to maybe 20 people on LinkedIn or 15 and gave a quick intro and stated that I wanted to just learn about them and what they do in their jobs. I reached out to Twitter, Snapchat, and YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everyone I saw on LinkedIn. And a few people got back to me from brand and marketing roles to strategic partnerships and a couple of different titles. And they talked to me. They told me about their jobs, what they love, what they didn't love. And I was like, okay, this is not for me. This is not for me. This is not for me. Oh, this could be for me. This is interesting. After about maybe 3 months of doing that, I even met with people on LinkedIn too to learn more about their roles. I narrowed it down to strategic partnerships types of position. So I was happy because it took research and, having conversations to narrow down what I actually wanted to do. It sounded cool. I didn't know if I'd be good at it, but it also similar to the types of conversations I've had in the past with clients on the sales side. So then I thought, okay, this is good. I started taking LinkedIn learning courses on partnerships, on commerce, on honestly everything I saw or anything they told me about because I wanted to learn more in that space. And maybe let's say a week later, I updated my LinkedIn profile because I wanted to tailor my experience to more strategic partnerships. So, it's like keywords because recruiters and sources find you through searching on LinkedIn for keywords and they're very quick. I used to recruit at LinkedIn through my rotational programs. So I know. So I was like, okay, let me tailor my resume. It's all about the keywords. Let me take courses. It's all about education, which you also know. You don't have to always like have that exact experience. And about, let's say, a couple weeks later, a recruiter reached out to me or a sourcer reached out to me on LinkedIn to work at Facebook on their commerce partnerships team. This is after seeing the job posting, like someone else highlighted to me, was like, oh, have you seen this? I know you're interested in partnerships. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And right before that, I prayed to God. I said, God, make it clear because I'm not about to leave this good thing. Okay. Make it clear I really have to go if it's time, and that job came and it was perfect. And I went through the process and I got the offer.
Yes. So you are now working at Facebook / Instagram / one of the largest tech companies literally in the world. So congrats. I know you just made that transition here in the last few months. Hopefully it's been going well for you.
It is.
I love that. So back it up a little bit. You started doing this search. You did your research and informational interviews and reaching out to people. So talk about that because I think sometimes people get really nervous about when reaching out to people, maybe getting back to their manager, that they're starting to have these quote unquote little talks. So when you were doing that, were you transparent with your manager? Did you not really care? Was it, I'm just learning? How did you navigate that space? And what did you say to these people to get them to say yes to chatting with you?
What I would say is these professionals that we all look up to or have the experiences, they're human beings too. These professionals are human beings. So what's the worst that can happen? They could say no or not respond and then on to the next. You just have to come with the mindset like, it's okay if they say no, I don't want to talk to you, but it's worth it when that one person responds. As far as telling my manager, I didn't feel I needed to because this is something for me, not for my team. This was me trying to grow in my career. And I wanted to learn because at that point, I didn't even think I would accept another offer, but I just wanted to know what was out there. To answer your question on what I wrote to get them to respond, honestly, make sure I read their profile to see outside of their title, what do they actually do? And then I would include that, hey, this is who I am. This is my role currently on LinkedIn. And during the pandemic, I'm using this time to learn about other roles, other industries, and what else is out there. I would love to hear more about XYZ that you did at XYZ company. I hope you're open to chatting. And then it was very brief but direct. Like I saw you worked in brand at Twitter. That sounds cool. In my role, I've done XYZ in brand as well. I love to chat. And honestly, a lot of them did get back to me. And even the ones that didn't, it's okay. Because some people have strict rules at their company and maybe there are things they can't share when people reach out, So I didn't take it personal.
Facts. And especially if you're reaching out to someone who is in a role that you're potentially interested in joining their team, they might be the hiring manager or they're like, look, I can't get involved in sharing any bit more. So not taking it personal, but also just shooting your shot. Like you never know. And connecting, at least for me, when I've done informational interviews, those have been extremely fruitful in many ways, whether it's networking or, they might say like, hey, there is another job, a few weeks later, hey, there's a job open. I'd love to refer you because I had such a great conversation. I've been seeing what you've been doing on, LinkedIn, your recent updates, et cetera, et cetera. So I love how you said that. And I love how you said the idea of updating your LinkedIn profile to have keywords and to really update your experiences. Why is that so important?
So why is it important?
I look at LinkedIn like a living resume. They're going to look at the static resume, but I see what you're liking. I see, maybe some recommendations. Why is LinkedIn so important in regards to getting that next opportunity?
Yeah, and I agree. It's a living, breathing resume, right? Because you update it, you move, you add, you tailor it. It's important because nobody is going door to door and sending their resumes anymore, and no one's about to read it, right? You're not about to slide your resume into somebody's door or drop it at some company. No, we are now in the days where most companies, especially the tech companies, are using LinkedIn, and they're going to spend a couple seconds, right? Not minutes, a couple seconds on your profile. And they're doing keyword searches. So there's a tool called Recruiter that most companies use. And when they put the keyword, they're only seeing who has that on their profile. So if you don't have those keywords listed on your profile, you're not a fit or you're not coming up. So you're not even getting a chance at that point. But I would say, after the keywords and all those things are added, let's say you don't come up in a search, you can still apply directly, which, I've done in the past. And some people still going to look through the ones that applied. So there's still opportunity there. But if I only had 20 seconds to look at your LinkedIn profile and you only have the job title and no information, I'm going to go on to the next candidate.
And you might be the best person for the job, but you're not even hyping yourself up.
Right. Because why have a profile if you're not going to put the information?
I love that. Okay. So now thinking through, you have gotten to this new role. Tell us again where you are and the role that you are currently doing now.
Yes, I'm a strategic partner manager on our Facebook commerce partnerships team. So what we focus on right now is, you probably saw Instagram shops recently launched, which is something so exciting, providing a space for a small, medium size, and even the larger businesses to have a storefront on the platform on Instagram and Facebook to sell, to make money using our platform, right? Since the pandemic hit, a lot of people, you can't physically go into their store the way we used to. We can't try on the clothes the way we used to. So this is, I guess, the alternative to doing that. And I'm not saying the pandemic made this happen, because this has always been in the pipeline for Facebook. But I would say sped things up a little bit because we know what the people need. And our goal is to build innovative products as we're trying to do that. We want to make sure the things that we're building are relevant and useful for the ecosystem.
And I've seen the shops and I actually got caught up scrolling through. I was just like, oh, there's a lot of stuff on here. Mm-hmm. Let me go ahead and get my shop together. I think it's so timely. Even though it was already in the works. I mean, we've already seen when you go on some of these larger brands, you can click the image and see like, oh, it's $24.99 or $250. And it takes you to their website. I think integrating it directly into the platform that most of us are on for multiple times a day makes a lot of sense. And for you in particular, how have you been able to start building your brand? How have you been able to really learn the role and thrive in the role?
Yeah, when they first told me about the role, I was like, what in the world is Facebook doing in commerce? Like, I even laughed a little bit, like, what does this mean? And after learning more, I realized like they really have an opportunity to change the game. We spend so much time on these apps, on these platforms. Why not shop? Shoot, why not order food? Okay. Like, why not do all these other things on the platform? And it's crazy how many people are actually already selling on Instagram and on Facebook, right? Because we have marketplace, but there are people who sell through their story. I've bought from someone's story before. I've sold my own stuff on my story. So why not create a space for them and those who want to do that? It's really exciting what the company is doing in that space. And as far as like the past 2 months, I'm still learning the ropes. Like you mentioned earlier, it's one of the bigger companies. And LinkedIn was big, but when I got to Facebook, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working at big tech. Like there's so many people. People are posting on walls because we have like internal walls. People are posting all these different things. I have to read more. Everyone seems so intelligent, trying not to psych myself out too much and, that imposter syndrome starts to kick in. But I was just like, you know what? I'm going to try to be myself. And sometimes I still get nervous and like there are things I still want to share. And I'm like holding back and hesitating to share it because I'm new. But nope, everyone has encouraged me that my voice matters. My opinion matters. And even in meetings, they're like, Kehinde, what do you think? Like that gives me a good feeling because I'm like, okay, now I can share. There's a space created where they want everyone's perspective. No one on my team has the same background as me. My team is actually the most diverse team I've ever worked at in my career. Okay. Wow. So it's cool to see that it's not just diversity because of, our background, ethnicity, but also our thought, our experience, what we've done, what we could contribute to the company. So that excites me as well. So over the next 6 months or a year, however long I'm at the company and in the role, my goal is to really immerse myself in the business, understand, more about our partners, how we can help them thrive, how we can better our products, and, add this to my background experiences so that in the future, maybe I could build my own partnerships thing. Who knows? We'll see.
Yes, I see it. I see it for you.
Thank you, Sky.
I'm going to take a moment just to hype you up. It's so interesting when people are so in the trench of like what they're doing, what you're doing specifically for yourself, growing your career, but you truly have a tribe of people who love and support you. And you never cease to amaze me, and I'm sure everyone else in your network. You're continually growing, learning new things, sharing resources. Like, to me, it's super inspiring. And I love that everything that you're doing outside of work is kind of complementary. And so you talk about here diversity, inclusion, feeling seen, feeling heard. I'm going to do a quick pivot because you did an Instagram series, which I'll let you talk a little bit more about in regards to just infusing creativity, right? Like, it's cool. Like, we have these careers, we go and do quote unquote this 9 to 5, but for you and for a lot of people that I'm talking to on this podcast, it's more than that. Like, there's creative lanes. So kind of talk to us about some of those creative things that you've been doing, you've been working on, that you've been putting out into the world.
Sky, thank you so much for saying that. I got a little teary-eyed. Like, I really appreciate that because, to be honest, like, there are times where I do things and I'm like, dang, like, where's the support at? And I really had to learn that even if one person supports you or no one, like, God got me, God got my back, and I don't always have to look for praise because at the end of the day, it's not about me. Like, I'm a vessel here and it's about God and the glory goes to him. So I need to stop, like, needing people's approval and support, but I appreciate your support so much. So yeah, you're right. So I did the Inspiring Black Women series, and that stemmed out of me actually taking a social media break. There was just so much going on in the world with the racial justice, pandemic. And honestly, it was a crazy time and I didn't feel like being online. I didn't like some of the things I was seeing. So I took a break and came back and asked myself, like, what do I need? And what do I think people can get something from? So that's where the Inspiring Black Women series came out of. So it's in my IGTV. If you go to my page on Instagram, Kehinde.Ade. And I also have the financial freedom one because I know paying student loans and investments is something else people care about, or I think should care about right now. Yeah. So those are the two different versions I've completed so far, and they've inspired me, honestly. And hopefully they've inspired and helped other people.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like I was exposed to a few new people and some of the things they were doing around like fashion and beauty and tech. And so, I thought it was like, it just popped out of nowhere too, but it was like so good. So continue to do it. So if they're not actively in the IGTV, like, they're watching it later, and they're still soaking in the information and the content that you're putting out into the world. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And we've known each other for a long time. We don't have to go all the way back to the origination of how we know each other. But, like I said, you just continue to amaze and inspire. And in regards to career, I've just been in awe of just how you've been able to pivot so seamlessly. And like I said, you've done a ton of things on the side. But I feel like what kind of bridges everything together is like your ability to thrive emotionally with emotional intelligence and then your soft skills. And so can you kind of talk about, just in general, as a creative, as a career person in tech, what are some of those critical soft skills that you need to have to thrive within your career, within your purpose in general?
I actually feel like I thrive in the soft skills area. I think I'm naturally a people person, meaning I like talking to people. I love when I'm asked questions about leadership and how I get out of certain situations when it comes to people. I think I'm a people person. Some soft skills that I think are needed are, one, the ability to persuade, right? That might come off weird, or I don't know. I think my sales background, but you have to be able to encourage someone to make a decision. But that's more for the sales side. But even when you're working with partners, right, you have to be able to encourage them to make a decision, not force them, not make them, just encourage, like say things that actually align with what they're doing. But before even all that, it's building trust. We don't know these people. Like, you don't know your clients that well. You don't know these partners. How can you build trust and make sure you both align and they know you're here for them, right? A lot of people come in, they're like, you just care about your company. You just care about y'all making money. So how do you build trust? How do you let your guard down and encourage them to let their guard down? So me, I'm always very genuine and very transparent when I get into conversations. I say what my goal is, what I've done in the past, and what I'm hoping for them to get out of this. And also building credibility. I think building trust and building building credibility or hand in hand, because one, you talk about your background, they're like, oh, okay, so she's done this before. She knows what she's talking about. She's not like an expert. I want to listen to her and trust, like, okay, I can share everything about my business. I don't have to hide certain things because I think they're trying to like get something out of me. And lastly, I think it's just being a good person. Like, I don't know if this is like a soft skill, but just be a good person. Be kind to people, right? I think the way you treat people, the way you talk to them is so important.
Yeah, so important.
And this might not be on a soft skill side, but be able to tell a story through data. Because I think storytelling is important in any job. But if you have numbers and they're not a numbers person, they don't get it, how can you tell a story where you both understand that language that you're speaking?
I love that. Storytelling is so important. I don't even know how I can like emphasize that enough. My friend Audrina, she's probably going to listen to this. She's always like, yo, you're like everyone's hype woman. But I think it's so important for people to be comfortable telling people what they've been able to achieve, and how you tell that story and how you weave in your experiences, how you weave in the data, how you weave in your impact, like that speaks volumes. And if you're not able to articulate that, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And so I love that you said storytelling, because to me, that kind of encompasses how do you tell people about your life, your impact, and what you're able to provide, like what you're able to give. It's important, period. So all the things that you said were great. Storytelling just hit a chord for me, because that's something I just always talk to people about. It's like, yo, how do you tell your story? Like, I'm not convinced that you really think that you're that lit or that you're that talented or that you're that knowledgeable, because there's the lack of confidence. I'm not hearing it. So we're going to just dive into, any last tips that you can give to anyone who's currently job searching right now or looking to pivot careers. What would you tell them to focus on?
One, take a breath. It's going to be okay. Like, we put so much pressure on ourselves. You need to have grace for yourself. And I learned that through always being harsh on myself. So have grace for yourself, especially during this season and through this process. Like I said, process. It's not going to just happen tomorrow. And maybe in some cases it does, but it probably will take some time, and have grace for yourself every day. 2, come correct. So do your research. Take LinkedIn Learning courses. Take Coursera. Take Udemy. Like, whatever is out there. Like, take courses and keep learning. I think we always say, like, you never stop learning. Like, you need to be a lifelong learner. Keep learning about what you like, about what you don't like, whether that's through courses or through informational interviews and reaching out to people. And lastly, be able to tell a story. And you can do that by writing things down. Like, in the past, I used to have a lot of informational interviews, and I didn't write a lot of things down. And then working in tech and even working in corporate, you're going to have performance reviews, and you have to talk about what you've done. I know some people are like, oh, I want to be humble. No, this is not the time to be humble, because your coworkers are going in there exaggerating what they've done, and they're getting promotion, they're getting raises, and they're getting XYZ. And you're like, I want to be humble, and you stay in the same role. Okay. So make sure you're writing down what you're doing that your manager might know about and not know about, and sharing it with them. They don't follow your 24/7 moves. So they don't know what you're doing. You need to be able to speak on what you've done, what you've learned, and what, results, what tangible things you were able to give back. And I didn't mention this earlier. When you do get the offer, know that you're going to go in there and negotiate that offer. Something. Ooh. Yes. My recent mentor, I just became a mentee to her. She shared with me how to like go through that negotiation process, which I've always known about, but it's scary when you're actually in that position. So like getting someone to guide you through that or tell you what that looks like, so that you can come at least at the highest level and not feel like you were lowballed through your offer. So those are all the pieces of advice I would give.
Yes, to negotiation. I can't believe I love it. I'm happy you said that, because never say yes to the first offer, y'all. Never say yes. You're going to be so excited that you got that job that you think is your dream job in the moment. Don't say yes right away. Say, send me that offer in email and writing. I appreciate you reaching out to me. This is such great news. And then you counter offer and you ask for 10, 20K more after you've done your research, whatever makes the most sense. And, say, I am willing to say yes today if you meet me at $20,000 more, additional vacation time. I can work from home some days a week, or whatever is important to you. Never say yes right away, and know that you're negotiating with the company. It's $1 million company, $1 billion company. You're negotiating with the company and not the hiring manager, even though they're the vessel. But there's probably more money in the bag, and you just said yes right away. And they're probably like, yes, we just saved $20,000 because that was our cap and that was a range, and we lowballed them and they said yes right away. So always, 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 always negotiate.
I would even add on, I think people are probably thinking, oh, it's a pandemic. Like, I don't want to ask for more. Like, I'm happy to even have a job. No. And I did a lot of research. I read blogs. I watched videos. I talked to my mentor. And I felt that what Sky just mentioned, like, oh my gosh, I don't want the hiring manager to feel away. No, like you're negotiating with the company. And come correct, like actually do research and know what people in our role are making at different levels. There's websites like H1B data where people have to report their income, or I think LinkedIn sometimes show what people will make, or Glassdoor also shows that. And people talk about it on different platforms. So actually come with the research, because you don't want to come with a number that's way out of range and they're like, okay, thanks, bye. So yeah, just do your research first.
So H1B data. Glassdoor, right? Are places where people can check. Hopefully there's some salary data there.
And there's one more app called Blind, where I think it's like a Bay Area thing. Maybe other people are using it, but a lot of people talk about salary on there and what they're making and even what it's like to work at companies. So that could be something you can just read through the different posts as well.
All right. H1B data, Glassdoor, and Blind, the app. Check it out, y'all, as you're navigating through transitioning into different careers.
And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.
And slide in Kenny's DMs if you need more information. Wow. Look at all those gems that were just dropped. Some amazing information that you are able to apply to your life. I hope you're motivated. I hope it moved you. And I hope that you learned something new. So with that being said, we're going to jump into our lightning round. To pay homage to the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, I am a firm believer in community and the magic of ensuring that we are all learning and growing together. With that being said, we will dive into our lightning round segment called, drumroll please, It Takes a Village. All right, so for someone who knows nothing about Nigeria, what would you highlight about the country?
The people, the culture, honestly, I think everyone, we are so like diehard Nigerians, no matter what, good or bad. Like I'm still Nigerian. The culture, which encompasses the food, the people.
All right. If you could travel to a country outside of Nigeria, where would you go and why?
I would probably go back to just like Southeast Asia. I was in Bangkok for a little while and traveled all around. So I would say like Southeast. Oh, actually, no, Japan. It's Japan because it's been on my list and I was done a layover once. And yeah, long story, but Japan. Like, I'm going to go to Tokyo specifically.
That's on my list too. I want to go to Japan. If I could go tomorrow, I would. Who are 3 people who have been the most influential to you?
More recently, one, I would say Natasha. She was on my series that I had on Inspiring Black Women series. She's just someone I've watched. Her name is Natasha Aarons. She's in multicultural marketing at Google, and I think she's amazing. There's also a woman, her name is Andrea O'Neill. So she was my coach when I was in MLT. And honestly, I've talked to her years and years after. And I don't know what I've done without, just having her support there. And outside of like family and like friends, like supporting me, I would add my guidance teacher. Her name is Miss Warner from elementary school. Yeah, growing up in Maryland, I had some rough times in school. And my guidance counselor, Miss Warner, who I still talk to today, was like her and my principal, Mr. Coleman. They were just like really helpful.
What is still a challenge you have as a creative?
One, being consistent with putting content out. As you look at my profile, sometimes I'm like post and go. So being consistent with my content. Also, like I'm still figuring out what story I want to tell. And I think maybe I'm putting too much thought into it and I just need to put something out there. But I want to make sure that it's fruitful, it's purposeful. Like I'm just not throwing things out there. So I would say it's 1, being consistent with content, and 2, identifying what the stories that I want to tell and just tell it.
What's one tool or resource you've used to build your business or brand?
I would say LinkedIn and Instagram both, because honestly, most of the people that support me, I probably don't even know them. Like I've never like met them physically.
Isn't it crazy how, just to pivot out of the lightning round, that the 2 companies you worked for are also the 2 companies that really have helped you personally outside of work? Because you would still use them if you didn't work for them, but it's just crazy how that aligns.
And that's honestly part of why I don't just work anywhere. I feel like if I had a tool or something that's helped me, I know it can help other people, and I want to be able to be part of that. So I think a lot of people think about, who is the CEO at this company? Who is this? No, that's not, those are all things to consider. But for me, it's like, what are my values? What is this company's values? And then what are they actually doing? And where can I step in?
Yes. Alignment is what I hear when you say that. What Afrobeat song is on rotation for you right now?
Oh my gosh. I know it's not just me, probably the rest of the world. I don't know, but Wizkid, Ginger featuring Burna Boy. Girl, we've been playing that all week.
It is. It's so good. I was listening to that when I was at the gym the other day.
Give
Like,
me wake up, girl.
All right. That's a good one. Listen to it, y'all. It's so good. What do you think the future of Africa looks like?
Well, you're on Clubhouse, right? Yeah, you're on Clubhouse. So there's a group called the New Nigeria, and they were talking about this recently. And I think it's really just redefining who we are as Nigerians in America, right? I'm speaking more to in America because a coworker of mine said, like, Nigerians are the smartest people. I read that. Like, there's a stat. And yes, we are intelligent individuals, and we're about our business, and we're about our money. See, I think people will start to like thrive in more than just a doctor, lawyer, a surgeon type of positions. We'll be thriving honestly in every industry possible, even as creatives, and be able to give back to Nigeria. I think right now we're almost there. We're almost at the point where everyone doesn't have to be a doctor. Everyone doesn't have to be a lawyer. You can really find true passion and make money from that and give back to your country and go back to where you came from. So that's where I see as far as Nigerians in America.
And that is really why AfroCurators exists, because at least in my story and probably so many other people listening, I started as a biomedical science major and was gonna go to medical school. I know, I don't think you even knew that about me. Most people don't know that. And their jaw drops. I was like, what? I like practiced for the MCAT. I was in a med school prep program, like literally on my way. And then I pivoted to so many different things, from startups to real estate to tech to creative opportunities, that I'm just here to tell the stories of those that are outside of STEM, while obviously embracing all career opportunities. But we have a creative side, and I'm just excited to share that. So I love that you said that. I completely agree. And the brink of just seeing Africa in a completely different lens is literally right around the corner.
One thing I did want to talk about, because there's so much going on in our countries right now, not just in Nigeria, just in the continent, right? So much going on in Africa. And obviously there's a lot going on with government, politics, and all those things. And people are literally out there trying to make change. And it's so cool to see that both in America with Black Lives Matter and with like NSTARS and everything going on, it's the newer generation that's really at this. Like our parents, our grandparents, and even us, like we've endured and we've gone through so much. But this new generation is so different, not just in America, but in Nigeria and in these other countries too. Like this new generation, they are bold. I'm so proud because they're just really out there doing what they need to do to make change. So I just wanted to highlight that this new generation is something else, and we got to look out for them, okay? And we got to support them.
Listen, there's so many memes that go around where you see some like questionable stuff, and it's like, look, I am not the older generation, okay? Try to get smart too. I mean, I got God in my corner right here on this shoulder, but please come correct. Like, you have to know that the ways of dictatorship, the ways of trying to silence our minds and our thoughts and opinions, like that's over. And you're starting to see, like you said, the younger generation just saying like, that's enough. We're not going to do that anymore. So as we continue to prosper into next years to come, like I just see a completely different future for Africa and for, you know, Africans across the world through different generations, just completely giving back in such a very creative, wholesome, purposeful way. So I'm excited for that. Well, I just want to kind of end it there. I would just love for you to share with us what's next for you. What do you see coming down the pipeline in your life, and how do we stay in touch with you?
I hope I was able to answer the questions. I hope it's helpful, even if it's just for one person. So what's happening next? I'm not sure yet. I think it's a journey for me, and I hate to say, oh, I'm going to do this, and it doesn't happen. So it's all a journey of me learning what I want to do and what I don't want to do. As far as on the creative side, travel in the US is happening slowly for me. My birthday's coming up, so I have something planned for that. Outside of that, literally, I just need to put some content out there that makes sense. So maybe get some more content out, and then just connecting with people. I've been kind of like you, Sky. I've been connecting with people for the past couple of weeks, for the past couple of months, and just making sure people have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And then as far as where to find me, so on Instagram, I'm Kehinde, Kehinde Ade. And then we have our Chronicles of TK Instagram page. So that's all travel, lifestyle, and career. And also on YouTube, Chronicles of TK.
I love that. And I'll be sure, for those who are like trying to jot it down, don't worry. I'm going to make sure in the show notes we'll have Kenny's bio and how to stay in touch with her. Kenny, I want to thank you so much for all the gems you dropped, the transparency, the words of wisdom. I think that there's going to be a lot of people who listen to this and start to rethink how they navigate their careers currently, if they stay and how they navigate that, and if they decide to transition. So thank you for the gems you shared. So helpful, so valuable, and we love it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to AfroCurators, the podcast. Before you do anything else, do me a favor. Subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. This will allow other listeners just like you to find this show. Then, when you're done, take a screenshot of the episode, add it to your stories, and tag us. We'll be sure to show love right back. If you want to hear more about dope creatives of African descent, be sure to follow us everywhere at AfroCurators and sign up for our newsletter at AfroCurators.com. I'm your host, Sky Dahan. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I cannot wait for you to join us on our next episode.